We are following new developments in the Harvey Weinstein case. The disgraced movie producer was arraigned in a New York City court earlier today on new sex assault charges.
Weinstein was released on bail after pleading not guilty. The new charges include 2 counts of predatory sexual assault, which carry a maximum life sentence.
So with more on the developments today, Jerika Duncan joins us right now outside of the courthouse here in New York City. So Harvey Weinstein's lawyer said that he expects more charges. Explain this to us. What else could he be charged for?
Well, we imagine that it will have to do with more sexual assault criminal charges, but the judge didn't get into any specifics about that, the prosecutor, and obviously neither did Brafman. What was so interesting, though, about this case is that instead of just talking about rape in the 1st and 3rd degrees and criminal sexual act, which is what happened in that first arraignment back in May, we're now talking about predatory sexual assault, which, as you mentioned, carries a maximum of life in prison. So as a result, the prosecutors asked the judge if they could get the bail conditions changed. They now want to see Harvey Weinstein on house arrest in New York City with conditions in terms of how long he can be out and what he can actually come out for, which would only be doctor's appointments, things that are emergencies. The judge will listen to both arguments and rule on that in the coming weeks. But on the other side, on the defense side, Weinstein's attorney said, listen, we knew that he was facing serious time with the other charges from the first arraignment. Why should he have to change his location now? The prosecutor said that his home in Connecticut is no longer his home, so to speak, because he doesn't own it and that it has been sold. But the defense attorney, again, for Weinstein, making a point that he has an agreement to stay in that home in Connecticut until February of 2019, arguing that due to his health concerns and the doctors that he sees, everything that he needs is pretty much there in Connecticut. Also concerned about what Mr. Brafman referred to as a circus act concerning the media, saying that if he did stay here in New York City, he's concerned that Mr. Weinstein would be harassed by the media because he would be in New York City. So those are some of the issues that came out of court today that are different from what we've heard previously. But again, no surprise here that Harvey Weinstein pleaded not guilty to that predatory sexual assault, which again carries more weight than those other charges of a maximum of life in prison. Anne-Marie and Vlad?
Given the number of allegations that have been made, the number of counts that have been lobbied against him with regards to sexual assault and sexual harassment, harassment from the media is the least thing that he should be worried about. I'm wondering, Jerika, what his demeanor was in the courtroom this time when he came in. Did you catch a glimpse of him?
Yeah, I did actually. He came in handcuffed. He left a free man, but he was limping. Again, that very first time that we saw him for the first time when he walked into that precinct back in May, he seemed disoriented. You know, they didn't get into specifics, Mr. Brafman, his attorney, about what his health conditions are or you know, what he's having trouble with or why he does see several doctors. But it's obvious that he just seems sort of out of it. Some people have alluded to it being somewhat of an act, you know, moving very slowly and limping when he comes into court. Interestingly enough, on his way out, he turned around and he started asking for his wallet. No one seemed to know where his wallet was. You'd think he'd want to get out of that courtroom as soon as possible, but that kind of delayed things just a bit. But he's not saying anything. Of course, we've yelled questions out to him before, and he doesn't have much to say. His attorney has made it clear that he does not want to try this case out here in public. He wants to try it in the courtroom. So other than to say that he maintains that any sexual encounters that Harvey Weinstein has had with women, they have maintained that it was consensual. They also claim that they have evidence that will prove that this was consensual. Again, just to recap, right now we're talking about charges involving 3 women, incidences that happened back in 2004, 2013, and now 2006. So there's so much that we will still learn as these motions, these hearings, these arraignments continue before we actually get to the trial. But, you know, the prosecution, when I've talked to the prosecutors after, I wasn't able to talk to them afterward because the security folks kept us all in the courtroom until the prosecution and the defense were clear out of the courtroom. But when I did get a chance to ask a couple of questions to one of the prosecutors, they really, don't want to comment. It's no comment, no comment, wait till the trial. Everything that they feel they need to say that we can report out has pretty much been in court.
So speaking of that trial, do we have any idea when that may begin?
It's hard to say. I mean, having covered both Cosby trials, these things could drag out for months and months before there's an actual trial date set. It's hard for me to predict. I am not a lawyer, maybe one day, but yeah, I can't really tell you for sure. I know I cover so many of these. It's very fascinating. It's all very interesting.
You'll have a leg up if you ever decide to go to law school.
I would say at least a few months, And some of the producers that I'm out here with too, they've also covered the Cosby trial, and they're shaking their head as we're just kind of covering it day by day, month by month, hearing by hearing. But it will be probably some time before we get an actual trial date.
All right, Jericka Duncan reporting live for us outside of the courtroom in Lower Manhattan. Thank you, Jericka.